Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. All rise and stand. I am sovereign, living justice, light to jury bay, in capitis diminutio nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes, in red ink. My sovereign-born appellation is Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. This is an ancient, original, indigenous, sovereign, Article 3, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American Consular Court action. So, it was pointed out today again in the text message that I received in a group chat from one of the Moors. And by the way, all the Moors who send information to me, whether it be by text message or email or however you get the information to us, it is much, much, much appreciated. Thank you, because it's just affirming further what we already know about our land. So a text message that I received today was showing that the merchants on our land are starting to change their logos, and we talked about this about 6 months ago. We knew that they would continue to do that, changing their logos from all capital letters to either in capitis diminutio minima or in capitis diminutio nolo, but it will generally be in white or blue or green, or a mix of those colors. And then there are some merchants on our land who never changed their logo from in capitis diminutio nolo. They can't do it in all red unless it's one of us. So I wanted to show you some resources that we can use and that we probably, just think about it, need to add to our notification process now that so many things have changed in our favor. When I say so many things have changed in our favor, I'm specifically talking about the banks taking the oath to the Republic. We know that happened. We pointed that out when they did their testimony before Maxine Waters, who is the chair of that court action. And the banks took an oath to the Republic. She had the Republic, the flag of the California Republic behind her, and then on the other side she had the banner of amity and commerce without the war fringes, without the yellow fringes. So we know that they are getting in subject status, just like we said that they had to. So all Moors commanded them to get in, to rise and stand out of that court status and into subject status. So there are a couple of other merchants and banks in particular who have gotten into their proper status as well, so that we can begin notifying them of some things that we're doing where banking is concerned. We know that in the early 1900s, our Prophet Noble Jew Ali put a document, an affidavit, on the public record. It's the 1010-5905 document that he put on the public record. Hold on just a moment. Let me grab my charger, make sure my phone doesn't go out. He put the document on the public record, and he put it on the public record at Chicago Territory. Chicago Territory is, just like all of the other territories here on our land, is back in its proper jurisdiction when the Moors are in their proper place. So for all the Moors who are at Illinois Territory, that territory is back in its proper ancient jurisdiction for you when you're in your proper place in terms of in propria persona sui juris. okay, in red ink, in capitis diminutio nolo. So we see the banks doing what they have been doing, and I want to show you a couple of resources that we're going to begin notifying. We're just going to notify them of what we're doing so that they can prepare for what we have coming, the things that we have coming, in terms of the properties and the proper use of our credit as the creditors to all the nations at earth. So one of the resources that I want to show to you, let's see, I want to make sure they're on the screen first. Now remember, when you're going throughout your territories, always look for the merchants who have changed their logo to all lowercase letters. Look for that in your territories. We know that, for example, Target has gone from a corporation back down to company status. And company is a military word. Company means it's a group of people who are enlisted to serve the heirs. That's what a company really is. We have a standing army on our land, and it's everyone on our land that's in subject status. That is our standing army. Okay? Empress Alexandra, I think you probably meant to put that into private chat. Let's take a look here at one of the, we'll just take a look at it. Let's just take a look at it for notification purposes. Okay, can you see on the screen the Cook County Land Bank Authority? Now, Empress Shade, they are actually under the authority of Empress Shade's land bank and the land bank of the Moors, okay, because we're in red in all lowercase letters. However, Islam, they have gotten in subject status like they're supposed to. They put their logo the way that it should be, in all lowercase letters, in green. Green, now let me just explain what was explained to me by one of the Moors in the territory who grew up in a Moorish household. They were always outside of the capitalism system until just in the last 20 years, okay? But one of the Moors in this territory, and I've mentioned this before, honors to our Empress in this territory who grew up Moorish, and she knows, you know, they lived it. All her life she lived Moorish science. So we know it's real. She said that, and this is what she said. Now, Moors, do your research on this, okay? The things that I'm sharing with you today are for research purposes. So you do your own homework on what I'm sharing with you today. And at any time, anything that we share, it is for research purposes so that you do the research, and then when you see what you need to see in order to stand on your demonstrations, then you stand on them. Integrate whatever you want to integrate into your documents, edit your documents according to your study, and then do your demonstration. But what I was told about the color system of writing, red is when you're issuing commands and you mean for your commands to be honored. That's what red writing is. That's why we use it, and that is why the red letter edition Biblios Heliotext or Bibles put the words of the Savior in red. And many of us remember the Bibles from back in the day called a red letter edition, where everything that Yeshua said was in red because it was all commands. So, And in the biblioheliotext, you never hear Yeshua begging anybody for anything. You never hear Yeshua, who is the grandson of Ruth the Moabitess. You never hear Yeshua, you know, requesting anything or anything. Yeshua just gives commands, speaks the word, and it is what it is. And that's how we speak. So this, what I heard about that, so again, that's why we write everything, we put everything in red in all lowercase letters. And then this is what I was told, do your research. That green writing meant friend to friend. For example, the Moabitess that was giving me this information about how they wrote in their family. Whenever she would write to, say, her aunt or, you know, someone who's a really good friend of the family, or the clan rather, she would write it in green, a friend. And then in blue would be to the subjects, just like we've been saying. You know, the subjects, the servants, you write in blue to them because they are living subjects of the Moors. And then black is the corpses, period, just like we've been saying. The corpses, black, they're the black people. We're not black, we're white. We're sovereign white Moors, okay? So with regard to this resource right here, some of the things that I would encourage you, yes, Justice Jeremore, that's good. He put that in the chat. Green equals go. Red equals stop and pay attention. Blue means peace in action. Absolutely, yes. And black means decapitation. You know, black means Guantanamo Bay prison and decapitation. Okay? Because there should be no blacks on our land. There's no such thing as blacks, black people. Okay? So even the corporations, they're acting in black status, so we do a court action on them, send them to Guantanamo Bay to be decapitated. Decapitation means removal from office. And then after that, after you do the court action on them and you remove the corpse from office, you can then speak to them in blue. Address them in blue. When you put their names, you put the last name, comma, first name, and you do it in capitis diminutio minima in blue. So it would be Diamond, comma, Jamie, and then underneath that would be CEO in blue, and you don't use the acronyms. You write out whatever it is, chairman or chief executive officer. Okay, because he's only an officer when he is in service to the Moors. He's not an officer of any corporation or corps or anything like that, because that's a black military, and we don't have black military actions going on our land. So then it would be doing business as president, Chase Bank. And all of that will be in blue in capitis diminutio minima. Minima, meaning the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters in lowercase. Okay? So these right here, this Chicago, Cook County Land Bank Authority, we can look at what they're doing and put them, we are registering them or recording them under the Al-Moroccan American Exchange. So they have records there that don't just include Cook County. They have land records for everywhere that is land related. just like the land bank authority here, which is the Moors, it's everywhere, it's the Moors, first and foremost. We are the land bank authority in red and all lowercase letters. That's why I said what I said about Empress Shade and the things that the Al-Moroccan Amexem land bank, the Amexem land bank is doing. Okay, so then they are servants to the heirs. So you may want to do some research on them, look at what they're doing, and if you choose, send or notify them of any land actions that you are doing, specifically the ones that are in at ancient Morocco or in the Cook County territory, okay, if you choose to notify them. We're not recording any or filing anything with them. We're just notifying them for their information so that they get ready. Because see, notification, when we notify anyone, it is notification so that they know that we're on our way there. Jurisdictionally, they're under our jurisdiction. We know that. All companies are under our jurisdiction. And we're letting them know that in the coming months, we're going to be utilizing the services that they provide. But again, they must be living servants. They can't be in court status. Okay? So we're going to be utilizing their services and notifying them of some things. Okay? Now, Moors who have anything to do with housing, especially in the Chicago territory, you need to be notifying them with your sovereign affidavits in red and all lowercase letters. Just notify them of what you're doing. Just include them in your line of notification. And then study what they do so that we can put whatever they're doing in red ink and all lowercase letters, because that would be the appropriate way to speak to them. Okay? Now, there's another resource that we're going to be notifying also. And again, these are all, remember, Moors, we liened every corporation on the earth when we liened the United States Corporation Company. And then, and right now, we're doing the accepted for value affidavit for credit on everything on the land. And the corporations are gone and the companies are stepping forth, saying, okay, Moors, we're in subject status. We have some resources for you here. What do you want? You know, how do we will wait for your questions and your commands. Okay. So they don't have they shouldn't be asking you any questions. Any questions that they ask can be answered or can be addressed in your affidavit that you send to any company. Okay, so this is any company. When I speak to companies now on the phone, because see, before when they were acting in corporate status, I wouldn't even speak to them. I just liened them and did a court action on them. Put them in subject status, then pick up the phone and call them, and I ask all the questions. They don't ask any questions, and I don't let them ask any questions, and I tell them, I'm asking all the questions. You're not asking any questions. And they do exactly, when we do it in court action peacefully, they do exactly what we tell them to do. Okay? So when you're dealing with banks and anything, when you pick up the phone, soon as they answer the phone, just go ahead and say, let me introduce myself. All rise and stand. This is a sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American Article 3 consular court action. I am sovereign living justice, and state your appellation, in capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredis, what is your name? And then they'll tell you their name or their operator number or whatever. And then you just state, do you understand that you are hereby bound by the Constitution for the United States, 1789 and 1791? Do you understand that? And usually they'll just say yes. And and then some of the ones that are pretending to be a little bit belligerent or acting like they don't know who you are will say, well, I don't understand. What are you saying? What are you talking about? What is this about? Just continue with your court action. Do you understand that you are hereby bound by the Constitution for the United States, 1789, 1791? Do you know what the Constitution is? Are you familiar with the Constitution? That. And then once they say whatever they're going to say, generally, and in most cases, they may say, you know, I'm going to put you through to my supervisor, because they already know we're supposed to be talking to the bosses anyway, because we're the bosses. And we don't really, you know, we speak to the bosses of their bosses because we're their boss's boss. So, and then we ask whatever questions we want to ask. For example, with this, we would say, hey, Cook County Land Bank, what exactly do you all do? And then they'll tell you what they do. And some of them, if they're being a little bit more belligerent or whatever, they may say, you know, well, what is this about? What is this about? Okay, I'm asking all the questions. So go ahead and you don't need to ask any questions. Just respond to the ones that I give you. Okay. So just one moment. Let me make sure that stuff stays out of here. Yep, you're out of here. Okay. So another resource that I would like to share with you for you to do some research on, see what they do, send them some affidavits and court actions, in court action status. So again, at the beginning of all of our affidavits, we have the court action language. Any other Moors in other territories, look for land bank authorities in your territory and look at their logo first to see if you need to lien them. Because if their logo is in all capital letters, go ahead and lien them. I don't care what color the capital letters are, lien them. Do a lien on them. And do a court action on them. Because that's not what we said. We said no corpses on our land. Everyone is living subjects. Okay. I want to show you another resource that we are looking at as a resource for the movement of sovereign credits and all of that. Okay, we're just looking at them. We're doing our research. We're in research mode now. Okay, so research mode just means we're going to ask a few questions. We're going to send a few affidavits and give a few commands and go from there. Okay. Let me pull them up here on the screen so that you can see just a couple of other resources that we're looking at. Oops. Hold on. And again, we're in transition, right? We're in transition as a nation. There's a question in the chat with regard to what we're doing. It says, are you aware that every corporate state is a subsidiary of the United States that is registered in their own Department of State? We are aware of that, which is why we liened the United States Corporation Company. Now listen to the name. It's United States Corporation Company. That means that all corporations are under them. They were a corporation company. So that's why every corporation must be registered, because they need to be under the United States Corporation Company. But it needs to be the one from before 1871. The United States Corporation Company before 1871 was in blue in capitis diminutio minima. That's who we said, come on to the land, set some things up, and do a little work over here. Go ahead and do some work for us. Go throughout the land and evaluate the land. And that's where the public record comes from. That's where it started, is when the United States Corporation Company, as servant to the Moors, not as a corporation and a dead corpse, not that one, not the black one, but the blue one. We said to them, go throughout the land and add and place a value on everything on our land, and then everything that you put on our land, put a value on it and put it on the public record so that we can look it up when we need to see what these vast estate is worth. In the chat, Justice Yezreel, it says, created to churn out corpses and corporations. Yes. The black one was created, it was a usurpation to churn out death and debt on the land. That's what that one did. The one that we leaned, that's what that one did. The original United States Corporation Company in capitis diminutio minima in blue was the one that we hired, and we said, okay, go throughout the land and whatever structures you put up, go ahead and put those structures up and all of that, and then give it a value and put that value on the public record somewhere so that when we're ready to accept whatever that structure is for value, we'll know what the value is of it according to the market. And then you adjust those values according to the market. Whenever the heirs wake up, whatever the market says, then we can accept it for that value. Okay. Justice Malik, you put in the chat, we need our own card service center so that we can put our sovereign dollarium on for commerce. 1 second. You are absolutely correct about that. We are looking at the best way to do that. We know that the banks that are on our land are preparing for us to utilize their services. I'm not sure how, and again, we're doing research and looking some things up. I'm not sure if you all can you all see me on the screen? Because I want to show you something that we are looking at. Okay. Okay, hopefully you can see me on the screen. I'm small. Okay, let me see if I can make it a little bigger. Is that a little bit better, Empress? Not yet. Okay. So I'm going to put this in front of the camera so that you can see it. It might be a little small, but this is, if you'll notice, this card, it has my sovereign security number on it. It has everything in red and all lowercase letters. It has my photo. It has our government and consulate stamp and seal on it. And it also has the Moorish American flag on it. It says Tier 1 Sovereign Gold Backed. This is a card, okay? This card is a card that I made, and if you look, this is the back of the card, okay? This is the front of the card. And this is the back of the card. In red. Everything is in red. And some can see it and some can't see it. And the ones who can't see it, I don't know what to tell you because some can see it. So this card is one that I made here at the consulate, okay? Because we are the bank, okay? So we're looking at the best ways to utilize our sovereign credits. We know that we have to do analog banking first. When any banks are being set up, they all start analog. Analog meaning they start with affidavits and documents. And then they do everything manually first. And then they digitize and computerize things based on the manual actions that they put in place. That is why whenever, in the past, whenever you want to open an account or something, they used to have you come in and fill out documents, paperwork. But then after a while, once they had everybody signed up as quote-unquote citizens, then they went to digital everything because everyone had already agreed to be a slave. And all they did was go all the way back to birth and see, is there a contract on the record where they agreed to be a citizen? And if that contract was not terminated, then they would say, okay, we don't have a termination of corporate contract, so we already have, that means we already have their consent, so they can just fill out stuff online. They can just fill it out online because we already have a contract and we don't have a termination, so they're still pretending to be citizens. And until they say otherwise, we're going to treat them as a citizen. So that is why you see the hybrids going digital on everything, because they don't have an impropria persona sui juris. They can only be subjects to the Moors, and that's it. And they know that. They're aware of that. That's why we created them. And that's what they want to be. They don't want to continue to be corpses. That's why we lean them, lean all corpses and corporations, because corporations do not come from anybody's womb. Those are fraudulent everything. And someone put it very succinctly to me the other day, and we've talked about this previously. I believe it was King Alassane, who's on the call today, said that at birth, instead of them registering the heirs, they registered the placenta or the afterbirth, which is not living and breathing. That's where the black comes from. And then it was up to us to balance that out and record the creditor, the living, breathing creditor. Okay? That was our job, and we're doing it. So there are other banks that have remained in subject status for the most part, but they did do some court stuff, so we still leaned them, such as U.S. Bank. They've always been in capitis diminutio nolo in red, white, and blue. U.S. Bank. Okay. Let's see. All right, Islam in the chat. There's someone in the chat, and I'm sensing hybrid energy, and that's all right, who put in the chat, putting false liens on people or companies are 100% illegal, and it's called paper terrorism. and you will go to prison. You are absolutely correct. That's why we're sitting here not in prison. And we have filed many liens, but they're not false. So you're right. You're correct about that. Okay? And just about every Moor out there has filed liens, and we all just still sitting here doing our work, which means the liens are not false. So thank you for putting that in the chat. We like to address that kind of thing. Okay? Now, any corporations, any corpses, it's on the public record. We will lien you. Anyone doing anything in black in capital letters, you're on the lien list. Anyone doing anything in black ink, you're on the lien list. Okay? And so, you know, again, so let's keep going with what we're talking about. We're gonna stay on topic. So, Moors, we have the authority to create our own everything, and that's why we created. I just wanted to see what this would look like, what our cards would look like, and this is what they look like. Okay. And when you put this with your Moorish ID card in red and all lowercase letters. And then remember, now again, we're doing analog banking. So remember back in the day when they used to have those machines, it was this little thing that they would put the card in it, and then they would run a press across the card, and it would make a carbon copy of the card. So, and then they would take all of those carbon copies, you would sign it, and they would take a carbon copy to the bank and deposit that. So it would take 5 days for your transaction to clear, right? That's analog banking, and they were just doing that in the early 90s, all the way up into the early 90s. Okay, and that is another thing that we're looking at for our banking and for the Moorish merchants, so that we can use the Largam for everything that we're doing. Because see, we can't keep pushing that fiat piece. We cannot keep pushing fiat. So now, I want to show you another resource just for us to look at and do some investigation on. Let's see. And I had shown this to the Moors at West a while back as a tool to research. Because again, we are the Treasury. We are the United States Treasury. In red and all lowercase letters. Can you see Treasury Management Services on the screen? Hopefully you can see it there on the screen. Islam. Okay. And if you'll notice, it says amalgamated bank. It says amalgamated bank. So do your research now. Don't go doing anything without research. Okay. They are in capitis, diminutio, nolo. They are using sacred geometry as their logo. And this bank, I found them about 3 months ago when I was doing further research on our treasury and all that we're doing as a nation. Because I had heard one of the hybrids on one of their videos, because I look at a lot of videos by them where finance and things are concerned, because I'm learning a lot. And then they give a little bit of information, and the ancestors say, okay, take that information and go look at this and go look at that. And go, you know, we're learning. Okay. This bank was mentioned by one of the hybrids because about 3 months ago, all of the banks came together, okay, and the hybrid in the video said something to the effect that whenever they see the banks come together and this particular bank shows up at the meeting, they know something is not right, something's going on. Okay, and to me that was something that was a signal that said, okay, go look that up because we've never heard of it. But for once, this bank showed up at the meeting that they had where the Federal Reserve called all the banks together, and that bank was there specifically and specifically named. So they may be a resource by which we can convert the sovereign credits to, you know, convert them and use them. From what I understand now, and, you know, in talking with one of the Moors yesterday, they've already managed to convert their own, over in the other Africa, from what I understand, they've already managed to convert their own originated banking system into credits that can be transferred back and forth, okay, and used on the land. They've already done it over there, where they did the same thing we've done, where they created their own banking system. Just one moment. They created their own banking system, just like we've done, and they then created an app that all of their bank users use, downloaded onto their phone. And when they created the app for their users to use, the users were able to go into grocery stores and all these other places and use their originated sovereign bank to get whatever they needed on the land, okay? And that's what we're looking at. We need an app that will convert our sovereign credits so that they can be used with other, with ATMs and all of that. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So, Justice Theodore. No. Let me assist, please. Allow me to assist here. Okay. Okay. So, in looking at what this amalgamated bank is doing, it's another resource that we can look at whereby we can do demonstrations with our sovereign credits and all that we're doing so that we can monetize liens, et cetera, et cetera. Now, again, our bank is we've already proclaimed on the public record that we're the IRS, we're the Federal Reserve, we're the United States Treasury, we're all of that in red and all lowercase letters. Okay? And then any more that are doing these banking demonstrations, please do not do them in black ink and capital letters just to appease some corporations. Okay? Don't do that. Please don't put yourself in that prison, because we see more doing it and they always end up caught up and looking at debt. Okay? Don't do it. It's not wise. We don't need to use black ink just to get a service or a benefit. We put it in red and all lowercase letters and lien anybody that's acting that way. And they will do as commanded. So as you're doing your demonstrations, make sure that you know who you are and that no matter what they say and do, you don't get off your sovereign status and start filling out their forms. When we address these subjects on the land, we address them by affidavit. Even if they say, oh, you can go online and fill out our blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. They have mailing locations and addresses for a reason, because that is how we speak to them. Whenever corporations like Walmart and all of them, when they were pretending to be sovereign, they didn't go online and fill out an account form. They sent documents. That's what we are to do, send documents to these, these subjects on our land. Send them some documents, send them affidavits. Don't fill out their forms. And then if you want to download their form and then take the form and put it next to an affidavit, and anything that they're asking for on the form, you change it over to sovereign speak, sovereign language. If they're asking for a name, you know we don't have names, so don't put name on your affidavit. Put appellation. When they're asking for addresses, you don't have an address. We don't have addresses, so put mailing location, care of, in whatever territory you're in. Do not put zip code, because zip codes didn't even come into play until the 1960s. Before that, when these banks were formed, they didn't have zip codes, so they already know when the sovereigns speak, we're not going to use zip codes. They know that, and if they see a zip code, they just going to send you to the citizen place and say, oh, I'm sorry, we need a fee of $25, Federal Reserve debt notes, for this, that, and the third, and then you need to pay this and pay that and pay this and pay that and fill out this form and that form. They're going to give you the citizen spiel if you use zip codes and things like that. They know how the sovereigns speak. They serve the sovereign, so they already know how their master speaks. So that's why we speak in ancient English, etc. And they will do exactly what we tell them in ancient English. They can read and understand ancient English because they get their orders. They were getting their orders from the ones doing business as Pope and doing business as Queen in a language that's not corporate English. So, again, all of this is things that those things are out on the public record. It's proven. If you want to prove that ancient English is real, go to legislature.uk.gov and look at some of the documents. Put in SETA-KV, SETA-QV, or whatever, however you want to pronounce it, and you will see them writing the SETA-QV or SETA-KV. It's in Old English, okay, in their record. So we're not saying anything that we don't know. We're not speaking about stuff we don't know about. We're speaking about stuff that we've done the research and we know that those things, that the way we speak is in our own sovereign jurisdiction. We don't want to speak in their jurisdiction. We want to speak in our jurisdiction. So each more, now this is important too, each more is their own treasury, just so that you're aware. Okay? So, yes, we have a national treasury and a government treasury, and, we have those. The Moorish National Republic federal government in its de jure status because we don't have any other status other than de jure in capitis diminutio nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, in proprio heredes, in red ink. That is the Moorish National Republic federal government because it's us, it's the people. And so we have a treasury, a de jure treasury, and it's filled with dollarium. It's gold back. The whole thing is gold back and natural resource back and land back and everything. Okay? But aside from that, each one of the heirs is their own treasury. Each one of us, you, us, all of us. That is what the sovereign security number is all about. The sovereign security number, not a social, because we don't use black ink and capital letters for anything. And minus signs, we don't use those. So your sovereign security number is a treasury number in red, in capitis diminutio nolo. That makes you a treasury all by yourself. Each one of us is a whole nation. And then together we're a nation. That's what sovereign means. Okay? So we're just watching the changes on the land because that's, when we give commands, we give the commands and then we watch and see, okay, we gave a command and said all corporations off the land. Let's see who's, and we have to give them the time that they need in order to do what we tell them. We have to give them time, a little bit of time, not a whole lot, because they knew this was coming. They've been notified. For years they've been notified. So we don't need to give them a whole lot of time. We just give them 3 days, whatever, however many, and then we just watch and see. And sure enough, according to our commands as a nation, the corpses have left and the companies are here. And the companies are our own resources to use. Okay? Are there any questions or comments about just a minute, let me make sure that I'm not missing anything in the chat because my chat keeps scrolling all the way back up. Yes, Islam, just as Theodore said, he found Amalgamated Bank of Chicago. Islam. And he put a link in the chat just so that you know. Justice Dearmore put in the chat that credit conversion process will be what Ernst Rothschild et al. Has the information to disclose. It must be done in an intelligent, confident manner. The red shield works both ways. Yes. Now, Justice Dearmore, with what you're saying, that process is going to come from within us, just like everything else. So we don't have to look outside of our nation to get any answers. All we do is look at what they're doing, and then the ancestors will give us the way to use whatever it is that we see. Okay? And when the prophet said, go to those who know law, he was really saying go within. The hybrids know law because they know who we are. So they're looking at us saying, that's the law right there, the Moors. They point to the Moors and say, that's the law. So when the prophet said, go to those who know law, we might as well just go to each other and ask, okay, what is this? What is that? What are you seeing with that? This is what I see. What are you seeing? Are there any questions or comments or anything about these resources? I'm going to put the meeting on. And you can unmute accordingly if you have any questions or comments with regard to the banking or anything that we're doing. Just a minute. Islam?
Islam.
Yes, Islam, Empress.
I just wanted to make a comment about some of our Moors taking it upon themselves to do things that are not common as a Moor, as they're going out and getting their own businesses established, not making it kind of hard for the Moors to establish their businesses. Does that make sense? No?
Let me repeat back to you just so that I'm sure that I understand your question. You're saying to give comment on Moors who go out and start their own businesses, making it hard for other Moors to do that? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is they're establishing their businesses, but using, I guess, tactics that are not becoming of Moors, such as, like, you know how we're creating our own delirium, which is wonderful, and our own IDs, but I guess some of the Moors that I have been talking to, they had a question, well, what happens when you start changing over names and your Social Security numbers and, you know, if you get SSD, how would all of that, can you make money? Can you have your businesses and also collect benefits from the United States? And I was like, no, you should not be able to do that. If you're Moor and you're seeking to start a company, then you should come under the, do what we're doing right now. But I think it is not a great thing for them to think that they can get Social Security or get I don't know. Maybe I'm not saying it the right way.
Okay.
And also just
I see what you're saying, Empress. So here's the thing about things like Social Security and disability and all of that stuff. All of that stuff is going away. After a while, it's going away. It may not go away today, but after a while, it's going away. We cannot do anything unlawful in any manner. We can't. The fact that whoever it was that was asking you that question, the fact that they even asked the question of can they do that says that they know there's something that's not right with it. Mm-hmm. No, we cannot. We can't be a citizen and sovereign too. Now, there are those who get those benefits, and they should, okay? But we're in transition right now. And the reason we're transitioning over to delirium and all that we're doing, Empress, is because those systems are going away. They've already said that Social Security, quote unquote, is bankrupt. They don't have anything to give. And that disability and all of that stuff is at some point they're gonna send out something saying we can't give you that no more. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. But Empress, I'll say this: I don't pay much attention to Moors who not to Moors. Let me rephrase that because I pay attention to everything the Moors say. But I don't pay much attention to Moors that are in transition, to their transitioning process. I don't pay much attention to that, to the process of transitioning. Transitioning is, yes, they're getting disability, but they're starting their own business, but they're getting disability because they are saying they can't work. Right. I don't pay much attention to that because the ancestors are going to fix all of that. If they're not doing, and this goes for all of us. This goes for all Moors. If we're doing things, I'll go ahead and unlock the meeting. If we're doing things that are not ethical, we won't be able to do it for long because the ancestors are going to test everything that we do. So I don't even, when I hear about, what some call dirty Moors, and, I don't call them dirty Moors, I just say they're in transition. Whenever I hear about that kind of activity, I just keep going with what we're doing. I don't even pay it any attention because everything that's not like God is being cleared off the land. Any low vibrating frequencies are being cleaned and cleared. Any low vibrating energies are being cleaned and cleared off this land. So I don't worry about when I hear about that because I already know they won't be able to do it for long if there's someone doing something that they shouldn't be doing. So don't give that your energy, just as a suggestion. I don't waste my energy on that. I just let them go ahead, because at some point the ancestors going to stop you and test you on what you're doing. And either you're going to pass the test or you're not. And then you'll be tested again. But again, even when we don't quote unquote pass our test, there's no wrong way to be ourselves on the land. But we must be clean, clear, and honorable. Everything that we do must be honorable. And those frequencies that are not honorable, the ancestors will test them out of us. We'll be tried in the fire so that we come out as pure gold. Period. And that's why, even with the banking piece, that's not our ultimate goal. We're just accessing resources that are already ours. But that's not our whole focus. It's not the banking piece. It's the growth of the vast estate, the governing of the vast estate. So anybody that's not doing anything that's ethical or honorable, the ancestors will test that process and give them an opportunity to clean it up and clear it up. That's one thing I love about our ancestors is that they're not what do you call it? They're not cruel. Even the ones that don't know themselves to the point where they feel like they have to do things that are not ethical, they just don't know that they're God and don't have to do that. They don't have to do that. They have the power and authority to rise above and accomplish whatever they're trying to accomplish without being unethical. Everything is in our favor already. We don't have to lie. We don't have to cheat. We don't have to do things that are crazy behind each other's back and all of that stuff. There's no need. We don't have to hide information. We can put the information out there. We share everything. At one time or another, it's going to be shared, okay? Because we don't feel like we have to hide any information or anything like that, because those who need to get the information will get it, and those who don't need to get the information, those who need the information will catch it. They'll get it. They'll use it. Those who don't need the information or who are in war mode or who are, doing things that are unethical, they'll hear the information and they won't even realize what they just heard. They won't even be able to use it. And then there are some who will take the information and they may have an ill intention, but in the ill intentioning, they will trip up on some truth. So that's another reason why I've seen Moors do things and it looked like they were trying to get over on people. And they ended up revealing a secret that we needed to see. All we needed to do was back off and be quiet. Don't say anything. Go ahead and let them do it. You see what they're doing. Just let them do it. Watch what they're doing. Just let them do it. You don't have to even let them know you know what they're doing. And then something will happen. And a secret is revealed, and they clean up their act or what they're doing. They clean up what they're doing. So That's why it's best not to say anything. I don't say anything generally. I just let them keep going. Because I already know our ancestors. I know them. We can talk all day long. I've said this to Morris before, we can talk all day long. But anybody that's out there on them airwaves speaking about more science, you will be tested. And to me, that's a good thing. Because that means we can't just be saying any old thing out here and the ancestors not put it to the test. They're going to test us. And to me, testing to me is great. I love testing because I see what it does for us. I know them. Every time they test us, number one, they look out for us during the testing. They make sure we're okay during the testing. And number two, we're going to learn some things and be elevated. The grand rising happens by testing continuously.
Good girl, because you're going to be tested real soon.
You know, we don't even worry about, like, we don't feel threatened by testing. We don't feel, you know, it is what it is. That's why we came here. We volunteered to come here to grow. So we don't worry about quote unquote dirty Moors. We don't even call them that. They're just learning. They're finding out who they are. And when they find out who they are, they're going to realize, man, I went through all that trickery and all of that stuff for nothing? You mean I could have just done this way and accomplished even more? Yes. So I love it. Are there any other questions or comments?
Islam Empress, Cynthia Ann Bay here. I was wondering, had anyone else noticed, that real estate signs have turned black? And so have most of the fast foods. I wasn't sure if that was an act of defiance or what, but has anyone else noticed that? It's Islam.
Islam, I hadn't noticed it, but it's not a surprise because I'm watching them fade. In other words, the reason everyone's talking about cryptocurrency and all of that stuff and changing their signs to black, you know, if you're seeing things like the fast food places and stuff changing their signs to black or whatever, that means that some of them are going to be here and some of them are not. Some of the businesses are going to still be here, but others are not going to be here. And fast food places, most likely the majority of them are not going to be here because we didn't eat fast food. You know, it's going to be Moorish restaurants. And they're going to serve ancient Moroccan food, real food. So the ones that are not going to be here, that doesn't surprise me that their signs have turned black. And then with the cryptocurrency piece, a lot of them are just, cryptocurrency is a way to crawl into the crypt and disappear and go away. That's all cryptocurrency is about. It's about them removing everything off the land, going digital, so that when they disappear, we won't even notice that they're gone. That's what cryptocurrency really is. The word crypt is in there for a reason. It's in there for a reason. And even now with like cryptocurrency and, you know, those things that were corpses operating on the land, a lot of that stuff is fading to black. It's being pulled into that black hole and going away because we have properly proclaimed everything and we're going to continue moving in the direction that we're moving in. That is why we're doing the processes that we're doing with the real estate. And now, not only do we have the real estate piece, But we've just been given the insurance piece by some 3 Moors who 2 of them have been in insurance over 30 years. So they're going to, they sent me the insurance documents that the insurance companies would use, and we're going to incorporate that into our indemnifier process so that we properly rebut point for point that insurance piece. And here's the thing, we have enough dollarium in each one of our treasuries or our trusts. Each one of us has enough dollarium to cover anything that can happen on the earth. Anything that can happen, conveyance accidents, anything that could happen. We have enough dollarium in our trust account to cover it. Hundreds of millions in gold dollarium to cover whatever needs to be covered. So now we're doing the analog banking piece to ensure that that we have the proper processes in order to claim and proclaim the properties and, anything else that we might need on our land. But it's going to be, it's going to be work. We got to look at the forms that they were using and convert those forms into affidavits for everything that we do. And also, again, and I mentioned this just yesterday, that I have a clan member who has a car dealership, and he's just now starting to wake up. But he sent me all of their back-end documents so that we can convert them into affidavits the same way we're doing the real estate piece. And here's one thing I do know about all that we're doing. We're getting out ahead of the Moors that need to come out of the jails. So we have not lost sight of the Moors that are currently incarcerated and all of that. We have not lost sight of that at all. In fact, everything that we're doing is so that they can come out sooner. But we need to have a process in place that they can do and get them a place to stay and get them some food and conveyances and things like that. They need to have resources when they come out. Okay, and so that's why we're doing what we're doing with the real estate and the banks and all of that. It's so that our Moors can come on out of there and come out the right way, where they don't have to go back into contract with the corpses. Okay? Everything that we do, we're doing it for the Moors that are incarcerated and the Moors that are down and out and that they need domiciles and they need what they need. They have a job to do too. They are going to have to learn the processes. But we're creating the documents for them to be able to do that. Okay?
Grand Rising, Grand Elevation.
Islam, Grand Rising, Nobility. Islam.
I don't mean to cut in, but I currently right now I have another Moor that's on the line that's in a correctional facility in upstate New York, and I thought I'd put this out there.
Islam, Grand Rising to the nobility that's on the line. You're in our hearts. We're thinking about you right now. I didn't even know you were on the line, but the ancestors put that energy into what I have to say, what I said just a minute ago, because I guess the energies must have connected in the spirit realm. But we're everything that we're doing it so that when you all come out of there, that you don't have to contract with the hybrids, the foreigners, that you can do everything allodially and sovereignly in a manner that is acceptable and worth your dignity. Islam. And if he's speaking, I can't hear him, but we do want him to know that everything that we're doing for them. We're doing it for us too, but we're doing it for them and our heirs and all Moors, all the research and things that we're doing. So we're so glad that you're on the line. We're glad to hear that you're there and that you're listening. And is he familiar with the court action process? That's my question.
Hold on. Not yet. I'm getting familiar with it right now as we speak. But what I wanted to put out there was he told me that the facility where he's at, it's currently they're moving detainees out and of the facility, and that seems to me like it looks possibly like they're starting to close all these facilities. And I was thinking about the lean.
Yes, that is correct. They are doing that. They have to because we said so. This land was not meant to be filled up with prisons, and certainly not with prisons that have Moors in them. We don't want to see anyone in there because no one should be in those places. Everyone should be out free. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. And yes, they should be emptying the place out. And that's what we're preparing for. Okay? That's what we're preparing for. So that he can have a place to stay and a process that he can use when he comes out. Okay?
He asked me to let you know, or told me to let you know that there are about another 20 Moors that are in there as well. I personally, correct me if I'm wrong, I do know that you guys leaned all the Freemasonry lodges, and I know that the most worshipful grandmasters run these local states and these politicians. So I guess me, in my eyes and in my intuition, I see that that's something that's being fulfilled as far as you telling these people to get out of those lodges. And by them moving out of those lodges, that would shut down all these facilities because they're the ones in control of them.
Absolutely.
If I'm
yes,
right.
Absolutely. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. As a part of a competent command, when we give commands, we have to give competent commands. And when we said set the Moors free 2 years ago, we knew we were going to have to do the work so that when they came out, that they would have their own court, that they would have their own everything. Okay, so that they never have to be subject to that system that put them in there again. The system that put them in there is capitalism, and that's what I'm talking about, black ink and capital letters, that they put on everything. Okay, so again, nobility, get to know the court action process so that you can give him the language for the court action, so that he can do court actions while he's in there. Okay?
Okay, I will. I downloaded the paperwork last week, so now I'm getting familiar with it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for all you're doing for the nation, nobility.
Thank you. If you need anything of me, let me know. I'm in New York City, so.
So you know what you're doing exactly what if I had a wish list, you're already doing it. Assisting the Moors that need assistance with the processes that we're putting out there. That's what this is all about. That's how we assist one another. That's how we show our love for one another. So you're doing all the right things. Don't stop doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm trying my best. And
then the more that is incarcerated, you are in our heart and our minds and our thoughts every single second of the day. You and all Moors that are in there, we're doing what we're doing for you. Okay? So thank you for letting us know that he's on the line too, because they are most important to us. Most important. We never forgot them. We never will. Everything we do is for them. Okay? Are there any other questions or comments at this point? You can just *6 if you want to say something or you have a question. If you hit *6, it will unmute you. Anyone else with questions, comments, etc.? Let me see. Just a moment.
Islam.
Islam nobility.
Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Well, as you know, I used to be a pastor, and recently a good friend of mine called me and asked me to do a funeral for their loved one. I promised myself, I told her I will do it because they have been good to me and I've been good to them. But I know what I plan to talk about, and it's the first time I'm doing something like that as a Moor, having declared my nationality. I don't know if you want to make any suggestions.
So your question is about nationality for whom?
No, as I said, I was invited, but I was asked to do a funeral for a very good friend of mine.
Oh,
So as a Moor, I know it's different from being a Christian. But they asked me if I can come and do the funeral for them, and I said I will. I know what I plan to talk about. It's tomorrow morning, but I don't know if there is anything that I should take note of or consider in doing the funeral for them. Or is there any format that as more that be used for funerals?
I'll just tell you what I did when at the last funeral that I attended, where I spoke. The last funeral that I attended was that of my father in 2019 rather. And are you wanting to know what you should say? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I know what to say. Just that it's normally a Christian setting, and
yes.
You know, they expect you to quote from the Bible and all of that, and do Christian stuff. It's the first time I'm doing something like that as a declared Moor. So I don't know if we as Moors have any special rites that we use for a funeral.
Okay. So we have a certain way that we memorialize those of us who have transitioned, but it's different from a Christian-oriented funeral. However, you know, there's nothing wrong with quoting the Bible. We quote it all the time. So, and where Christians are concerned, we actually gave them Christianity. So Christianity that's not a bad thing. That commercial Christianity is what we speak against. But Christianity in and of itself is not, that's not a bad thing. And so, the things that you would say and do at a Christian-oriented ceremony, we can actually integrate some of what we say and do into that. I did it when my father passed away, when he transitioned. And when he transitioned, I found a way to discuss Moorish science when I was on the stage speaking. I talked about how, and I'll just give you my story, because now in alignment with your question, if there are any Moors on the line who know the things that we say during during transition ceremonies, please *6 and let us know, because I'm not as familiar with our funeralization process. Okay, I know that we bathe the body, we clean the body, we wrap the body, we put perfumes on the body, and then we say certain things. Okay, I don't know what those certain things are. And I've spoken with Moors who do know it, though. Okay. There's a couple of empresses in particular who know exactly what to do, but I don't know. So if there are any Moors on the line who know, star 6. Noble J. Medina Bay, is your hand raised because you know the process, or you just had a question? I saw a hand go up there.
I see Noble Theodore is putting something up. I'll check it out.
Okay. Yes, 1 moment. I'm going through the scrolling through the chat right now. Okay. So at my father's homegoing service, you know, my father was a preacher. He was a bishop in the Christian church. So I grew up in church. And he used to talk about the children of Israel being the chosen ones, and, you know, everything belongs to us, and, you know, we're a royal priesthood, a holy nation, et cetera, you know. And at his homegoing service, I told the people about how he and I had a conversation. After I woke up and realized who we were, I had a conversation with him, and I said, Dad, you know, all those things you said about us in church, about us being the chosen people, and us being, you know, heirs and joint heirs with Christ, and all of that stuff that you said. I said, all of the stuff that you told us in church is actually true in this life. It's not just in the hereafter, and it's not just in the spirit realm. It's actually true in this dimension. Physically, it's true. And then I proceeded to tell the people about how I told my father about us having a treaty on record since 1786 and 1836, and how we gave the hybrid foreigners the Constitution, and how we're the heirs to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. And that everything on the earth, we have dominion over it, to include the hybrids, who are subject to the Moors. We have dominion over everything on the earth. I said everything you told us in church was true about us. And he started to think about it, and the more we talked, he started thinking back about, you know, about into his childhood, and certain things, certain ends were starting to be tied up in his mind. Things were coming together about why things were a certain way when he was growing up. My father was in his 80s when he passed away. He was 86 when he passed away. And, you know, everything that he told us was true. So that's some of the things that, you know, where funerals are concerned. If you are going to one, or if you have to eulogize someone, those are some of the things that you can put forth if you want to just bring up more science. But in the interim, anyone who knows the rituals that we say, I'm not sure that it would be appropriate at a Christian funeral to do a Moorish rite or ritual. I don't know that would be appropriate, because they made their designation as Christian, you know. So, but let the ancestral energies lead you in what to say if you don't know what to, you know, if you want to put something Moorish in there, because clearly it's on your heart and your mind to say something about Moorish science. So let the ancestral energies lead you, even if you want to use scriptures. You know, we quote them all the time because we already know that the biblioteliotext, the Bible, is a hypothecation of our ancient records. And at some point, some Moors, we need 66 Moors, each to take one book of the Bible and put it in red in all lowercase letters. We need 66 Moors to do just that, to take one book of the Bible, because there's 66 books in the Bible, and put it in red in all lowercase letters. And then we'll have to do the same thing with the, for example, the I believe it's the Vita, the Indian book that is their Bible, and then the Buddhist transcripts and things like that, the writing. So, Islam. Are there any other questions? And I apologize that I don't know what the Moorish ritual is for funerals. We'll have to do some research on that. Yes, Justice Theodore put something in the chat. But, oh, he put a red letter study Bible in the chat. That's good, Justice Theodore. That's really good. Okay. Are there any other questions, comments? Yes, the Holy Quran actually has to be done the same way. And some will disagree, but the Circle 7, this Holy Quran, is partially in red, the cover. The wording is in red. We need to go ahead and take that the whole way and put the rest of the writings in red, because they do come from the Savior. They need to be in red in all lowercase letters. That's good. Justice Theodore put another link in the chat that are funeral rites of North Africa, 1906. This is really good, Justice Theodore. Let me make sure that I get that also. Thank you for that, Justice Theodore. Okay, any other questions, comments, anything, any other wisdom, etc.? Okay. All right, with that being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs, Islam. Peace. Oh, Justice Dearmore, did you have something you wanted to say?
Islam,
Islam, Justice.
Islam?
Grand rising. Go ahead, Justice Dearmore.
I was just going to tell the brother that the main thing to do is to tell the truth, because you already know what the Bible says to you. You read it in the first person and let anyone who's there know that it is talking to them in the first person, not in the second, not in the third. Okay, and that information in there, in fact, those rights are in the Bible, and they are in the Circle 7 Quran. And since you're a minister or a preacher, just adjust your information to people, but telling them the truth about it.
Okay, Islam.
Not what was taught in the cemeteries called seminaries. Islam.
Okay. Well, thank you, Justice Gio. Peace and grand rising to the heirs, Islam.
Grand rising.
Very nice.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Grand rising.
Islam. Grand rising.
Now, a lot of grand stuff.